Here at Sovereign CEO and other international corners of the internet, we talk about flags, setting up your flag in a different country, and certain types of flags. What exactly does that mean? I've realized that I've gone through a lot of content and a lot of flags and a lot of descriptions of types of flags, but I've never actually categorized and described to you the different types of flags you can set up in your 5 Flags international lifestyle. And in this video, I will do that right now. When we talk about setting up flags, there are 6 different types of flags, and they are very different. For example, you may not want to bank where you live. In terms of 5 Flags rules, for example, you don't want to have assets where you live. You also don't want a passport where you live. So that means you're going to have different flags in different parts of the world to spread out your risk and to maximize your mobility and to minimize your taxes, all of which I have done in my life. It's very nice. But that also means you need to fully understand what the different types of flags are and differentiate from those things. The typical Westerner has one flag in his whole life, right? If he lives in the United States, he lives there, he has a passport there, he has a residency there, he has all his banking there, all his money there, all his currency there, all his income there. Everything is relied upon one country, which in this modern era of the collapsing Western world, in the dark age in which we have just entered, is not very smart. Instead, you want to spread out your lifestyle over several countries, and the number of countries is completely up to you. 5 flags is a suggestion. It could be less than 5. It could be, in my case, more than 5. And in order to do this, you need to know which country represents what aspect of your life. So in this video, I'll describe the 6 different types of flags that there are, because there are 6. The first flag is your living flag. This is where you live most of the year. So that means this flag is the country where you reside more than 6 months a year. This is your home base. Now, obviously, if you're a perpetual traveler or if you're constantly rotating between multiple countries, you may not have this, or you might have multiple living flags. Classic example of this, my grandpa, when he was alive, he lived half of the year in Alaska during the summer, and during the winter, he came down to Phoenix, Arizona. So he had 2 living flags. He didn't have one place he spent most of his time. He did 50-50 between 2 places. You can go really crazy and maybe spend 1/3 of the year in one place, 1/3 in the second place, and 1/3 in the third place, and then rotate back to the first place. In that case, you would have 3 living flags. The more living flags you have, the more complicated your life is. So just be aware of that. I currently at the moment have 1 living flag. I live here in Dubai. This is my primary home base. I have some other flags, but they're not really living flags, at least not yet, but they soon will be. I'll clarify that as we go along. But your living flag is where you live most of the year. It is not relevant what the legal status you are in that country. It doesn't matter if you're a resident. It doesn't matter if you have a passport or citizenship there. It doesn't even matter if you're doing visa hopping. If that's the country where you spend most of the year, more than 6 months, that is considered your living flag. Obviously, you want to give a lot of thought to where you want to live, the place in the world it is, the region, the type of people that you like, the weather that you like, the tax structures, big thing for me, that you like. And as always, different people will have different priorities for what they're looking for in their living flag. When I looked for my new living flag when I was in the United States and wanted to get the hell out of there, I looked at a place that was a priority for me that had good economics, very low taxes, and a good travel hub, and that's Dubai. Now, you might be different. You might be focused on lifestyle, living on the beach, living somewhere very inexpensively, where there's a lot of easy women around. Then you wouldn't choose Dubai. You would choose a place like the Philippines or Colombia or Thailand. But that's my point. You need to use your own criteria for what you want in terms of your living flag. That's why living flag is actually the most complicated flag, because you have to like it. There's a lot of factors involved. Your second type of flag is your residency flag, or flags in many cases, certainly in my case. Residency flag means a country where you have legal residency, but you don't live there, at least don't live there most of the year. You might spend time there, but you don't live there either at all, or you spend a little time there throughout the year. But you do have legal residency there that you maintain. As you all know, I have legal residency in 6 different countries. Does that mean I live in 6 different countries? I do not. I live in one country at the moment. I live in Dubai. But I have legal residency not only in Dubai and the United States, where I came from, but also Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, and Armenia. Do I live in all these countries? Of course not. These are residency flags for me. These are countries where I have legal residency in case I ever need it. So when I want to go to any of these countries, I can stay there for as long as I want, and they don't kick me out because I'm a legal resident there. If there's ever a pandemic or a war or some kind of problem and I need to get into these countries, they will let me in, unlike tourists and unlike visa hoppers, because I have legal residency there. So you can set up 2, 3, 4, or more residency flags throughout the world. And again, a residency flag means you don't live there, but you have legal residency there. Recently, when I was talking about having my residency in Armenia, one of my countries, a country I like very much, I had a guy say, why the hell would you possibly live in Armenia when they have border skirmishes with Azerbaijan all the time? Oh my God, you're so stupid. I don't live there. It's not a living flag. It is a residency flag. So that is the difference between a residency flag and a living flag. It just means you have residency there, you don't live there. The third type of flag is a passport flag. And this means you have a passport. You have full citizenship and an actual passport in your hand from that country. But you may or may not live in that country. I currently have one passport flag, the United States. I do not live in the United States, thank God, but I have a passport from the United States. I am currently working on 3 other passports in 3 other countries, and that way if one falls through, I'll have 2 more passports, which will give me a total of 3 passport flags. Then, at that point, if I choose to, I can renounce my American citizenship, save me some money on taxes, and rely on my 2 other passports. But that would be impossible if I only had one passport flag. And again, just because you have a passport flag does not mean you live in that country. I don't plan on living in any of the countries where I'm pursuing passports because per 5 Flags rules, you don't want to be a citizen of where you actually live. That gets very complicated. I've explained that in other videos and other podcasts. So if you're wondering about why you would possibly do that, what the rationale is, you can watch that podcast video up there, and that explains the whole concept. By the way, speaking of this channel, we do at least 3 videos here a week on how to set up your own location-independent business, move to a better country, or at least set up an international backup plan, which is kind of what this is all about, and do all these things for very little money. If that topic is of interest to you, you should subscribe to this channel, click the notification bell, put a like on this video, and leave a comment on this video, and that way you will be sure to get this content in the future. The 4th type of flag is what I call an economic flag. This means you do not live there. You may or may not have residency or passport there. It really doesn't matter for this, but you have some sort of economic activity there. Now, that can mean one of several things. It could mean, for example, you own a corporation or an LLC in that country. It could mean you have investments in that country. You could own precious metals in that country, stocks in that country, ETFs in that country, real estate in that country, and so on. It could mean that you have bank accounts in that country, either savings accounts, investment accounts, or normal checking accounts. You could even have multiple economic flags where you have a business or an LLC or a corporation registered in one economic flag country, and then you have the checking accounts for that business registered in a different country. So you'd have 2 economic flags. So economic flags can mean many different things. It just means you have some kind of financial activity in those countries, which, by the way, is very smart. I have economic flags all over the world. I have investments and cash in various forms of currency all over the planet Earth. That way, if something happens to any one country or any one currency, I'm upset, but I'm okay because I'm diversified. I don't rely, standard rule of my life, I do not rely on any one country for anything, including where I have residencies, including passports, including everything. Now, obviously, this means that you are able to set up a bank account or purchase real estate or what have you. Sometimes certain countries require you to have residency in order to do this. And if that were the case, then that country would be both a residency flag and an economic flag. Make sense? So certain countries can be multiple flags, and that's okay. That also means you understand the other restrictions of investing into that country. For example, in the country of Cambodia, if you want to invest in real estate, you are not allowed to own any real estate that is touching the ground as a foreigner, residency or not. So what that means is you can own apartments or condos on the 2nd floor or higher in a building. You have to be aware of these things when you utilize economic flags. And again, I'm using a complicated example of foreign real estate. It could be as simple as you have a checking account in a country that is far away from you. That would count as an economic flag. Some countries are very pleasant and very easy to deal with economic flags. Some countries are an absolute nightmare, and some countries fall in between. Depends on what you want, depends on your goals, depends on who you are, depends on a lot of factors. The 5th flag is the lifestyle flag. This is a country that you don't live, but you really like. And you spend a lot of time there because you find it enjoyable. Maybe you live in Hong Kong, but you like to vacation on the beaches in the Philippines. Perfect. The Philippines would then be a lifestyle flag for you. You don't need residency or a passport or even economics in a lifestyle flag unless you really want to. A lifestyle flag could also mean a place that you go regularly to go shopping. Historically, in a pre-cerveza sickness world, a lot of people went to Hong Kong just to shop. Here in Dubai, a lot of Europeans come here and spend a month or two a year just to shop and have fun, and they go back to Europe. That would be a lifestyle flag for them. A lifestyle flag is purely recreational. You have no other objectives for that country unless that country is also other flags. So for example, I spent a lot of time in Paraguay. I consider that a lifestyle flag, but it is also a residency flag and an economic flag. Again, one country can be several different flags. Or you could have a country that you like going to, you have no economics and no residency, and you just like hanging out there. Perfectly fine. The sixth and last type of flag is a backup flag. This is a primary backup to your living flag. Often in these videos, just about every video, I mention setting up an international backup plan. So if you live in the Western world, when your country collapses in your lifetime, which it will, the United States, Canada, Europe, if that happens, you can very quickly, within 72 hours or even less, be in that country and you're fully set. You have residency there, you've got a bank account there, you maybe have an apartment there or are able to get an apartment very quickly. It's a backup to where you live. So if there's ever any problem down the road to where you live, no problem, you could be somewhere else in a heartbeat. In this era of the collapsing Western world, in the dark age in which we have entered, having at least one backup flag, in my opinion, is mandatory. I think people who do not have backup flags are literally stupid. Unless you are extremely wealthy, you have at least $10 million or more, which I've addressed on a prior video. Matter of fact, you can watch that video there where I discuss that. Unless you are very, very wealthy and very, very liquid, you must have a backup flag. Even if you are wealthy, you should, in my opinion, have a backup flag. You can even have multiple backup flags if you have the money and the time and the wherewithal. That way, no matter what happens to your current country or your new country or wherever you move to or wherever you're staying, you can sleep easy at night because you can be out of there to your backup flag and you'll be perfectly fine. I live here in Dubai. And it's a great place to live. For me, I love it. I am very happy I moved here. I have absolutely no regrets. And the longer I stay here, the more I like it. But occasionally people say, well, what about this? What if this? What if there's a war in the Middle East? What if that? What if this? Great. I have a backup flag, which is Paraguay. I can be on the ground in Paraguay in 72 hours, and I have all the lifestyle logistics set up there where I would be good to go perfectly fine. I am also working on several other backup flags, so I will have a backup to Paraguay. I will have several levels of backup because I'm a maniac about this stuff. You don't need to be as crazy about this as I am, but you should have at least one backup flag, especially if you are choosing to not move out of the United States, Canada, or Europe. You really need a backup flag. And if you don't get one, again, I think you're smoking crack. I don't know what you're doing. So several quick examples from my life and how I utilize these flags. As I mentioned, Paraguay is a lifestyle flag, an economics flag, a residency flag, and a backup flag. So it's many, many flags in one country. Kind of neat. Armenia, for me, is a residency flag. Even though I do like visiting Armenia, I wouldn't really consider it a lifestyle flag, at least not yet. The country of Mexico is both a residency flag and a lifestyle flag. Pink Firefly, love going to Guadalajara. Matter of fact, we will be in Guadalajara in a few weeks. Love spending time there, really enjoy the people, really enjoy the environment. Very inexpensive, and I have residency there. But it is not an economic flag. I have no money there. I have no investments there and things like that. Panama, which I recently addressed in a recent video, was a residency flag for me. Shortly, it will not be because I'm letting that residency lapse, but it will remain an economic flag. I do have some assets there that I'm going to leave there for the time being. I'm going to watch those very closely. Panama was, not anymore, but was a lifestyle flag for me too. It was a great place to visit. Really enjoyed it. Not anymore. I had to cross that off my list. I have another video about that I recently posted here on this channel. I also have several economic flag countries that I'm not going to mention throughout Asia and Southeast Asia, because Asia in general and Southeast Asia in particular is the only growth region over the next 25 years. That region, Southeast Asia in particular, is going to do very, very well over the next 25 years as the rest of the world continues to collapse and get worse, with a few rare exceptions. And as I mentioned, I currently have 6 residency flags, soon to be 5 residency flags, and I currently have 1 passport flag, soon to be 3, or maybe if I'm very lucky 4, but probably not, probably 3 passport flags. If you want greater detail on exactly how I'm arraying all these flags, how I'm managing my 5 flags life, you should watch this video where I go through the entire world and I go into detail of what I'm doing in which countries so you get a better idea for this. And I'll see you in that video.